June 25th, 1937. It was the night that Jack Bloomfield defeated Count Pedro Rossi in a match where the ring was surrounded by chicken wire. This will go down in history as the first ever steel cage match. 83 years on, and we have a double dip of steel cage shenanigans tonight from Full Sail University. Will the NXT stars take it over the top, or will they shuffle through the door? Let's find out together. This is NXT Graded. The first of two steel cage matches is right now. It is the Bionic Knee rivalry between Tegan Knox and Dakota Kai. These two have a really aggressive affair. Not many big moves in this, but a lot of punching and kicking, throwing into the steel. I think the big move, first big move of the match is Tegan Knox hitting a choke slam off the top rope. Later on, she hits a beauty of a crossbody off the top of the cage as well. I'm a big fan of the finish to this match. Raquel Gonzalez, the bodyguard of Dakota Kai, who's been making a nuisance of herself around the ring, sees Tegan Knox coming down this top of the cage, heading her way down. So Raquel, who had the cage door slammed into her face earlier on in the match, manages to wedge Tegan Knox between the cage door and the steel cage, so she can't move. This gives Dakota Kai the time to roll out of the ring and stagger back to her feet outside of the ring and be declared the winner. As Tegan Knox can just stare on in horror as Kai once again just clips her in this rivalry. This was an A- for me. As I said, no massive moves were hit in this match, but there was a lot of impassioned grudginess, if you know what I mean, and a really creative finish to a steel cage match. I'm down for that. Finn Balor is in a vignette next, and he's talking about his attack that he suffered at the hands of Imperium last week. He thanks the leader, the Ring General Walter, says that he'll see him very soon. Maybe at the NXT UK tapings in Coventry. Maybe ahead of NXT UK TakeOver Dublin. Maybe. After this, we get a great vignette of Rhea Ripley wandering around the Raymond James Stadium, taking in the home of WrestleMania 36, where she'll be defending the NXT Women's Championship. She reflects on her life growing up as a wrestling fan. She talks about how when she came into WWE, a lot of people compared her to Charlotte Flair, so she went out of her way to look as unlike Charlotte Flair as possible. She then paraphrases Charlotte's dad, Ric Flair, and says, to be the best, you have to beat the best. So she has to beat Charlotte Flair. Oh, this was great. This was so good. It's one of those segments that makes a WrestleMania match feel really important. Tank girl Shotzi Blackheart is in the house in her adorable little tank. She's taking on the crown jewel in the Robert Stone brand, Chelsea Green. The winner goes on to Tampa Bay to take part in the women's ladder shenanigan. Fairly basic back and forth with these two. Ends with a top rope missile drop kick and an I'm prettier instead of an unprettier. An I'm prettier from Chelsea Green for the 1, 2, 3. Giving it a C. It wasn't a whole lot to write home about in this particular match, but it was fine, it was serviceable, and it punches Chelsea Green's ticket to the ladder match at TakeOver. I'm sad that we're not going to see Shotzi Blackheart in that match because, I don't know, I quite like the idea of her driving the tank up the ladder. That would be great. Keith Lee is in the house and his dulcet tones are soothing Full Sail University. He's talking about the next challenger for his belt, be it Dominik Dijakovic, be it Damian Priest. This brings out Cameron Grimes, who has something to say about this, because Grimes beat Dijakovic last week via some shenanigans, obviously. But Grimes now says he wants a title shot. Well, I think that was the point he was trying to make. Full Sail was drowning him out, and he seemed to keep getting lost in what the point he was making was. Keith Lee gets bored of this in the end and just pushes Grimes out of the ring and says, all right, you've got a match next week. So next week we have a North American title match between Keith Lee and Cameron Grimes. I'm giving this a B. I thought Keith Lee and Grimes both had really great bits in this. I thought the crowd were really into this as well. Some real hatred for Cameron Grimes. But it kind of got a bit lost in the middle. Like Grimes kept repeating himself over and over it's almost as if he forgot his line. and Keith was trying to help him remember it. It was weird. But then they picked it up near the end. I think if in doubt, just get Keith Lee to push you out of the ring. Normally fixes things. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly take on Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan next. These guys had a blinder at TakeOver Chicago a short while back. So maybe some of the same magic here again. Certainly starts that way. Oney hitting a double blockbuster off the apron to both Fish and O'Reilly in the early stages of this match. Then we see Burch get beaten down by the Era. Burch makes the tag to Lorcan. Lorcan gets the hot tag and just starts running roughshod around the ring. The end sequence comes with Fish in one corner and O'Reilly in the other. And Lorcan's going back and forth, taking these two out in the corner. Just as it looks like he's about to power up for a Kamehameha or something, Lorcan eats a high-low combination from Fish and O'Reilly for the 1, 2, 3. After the match, the Undisputed Era say they want a shot at the Broserweights tag team title. This brings out the Broserweights, and just as they're about to grant them that title match, out comes Zach Gibson and James Drake. Bosh! Wipes out Dunn and Riddle. And then say to the Undisputed Era, out with the old and in with the grizzled young veterans. I'm giving this whole segment a B. I thought that the match that the Era and Burch and Lorcan had wasn't a patch on their previous match, but it was still good. It was still very good. And I like the tease of UE versus GYV versus BW on NXT. Okay. In a match that was made through Big Talk on the WWE's YouTube channel, it is Austin Theory versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. Now, Swerve starts off really strong in this one. Just keeps Austin Theory at bay. We come back from a break and we find out that during the break, while we were watching, some adverts for 1-800-COLLECT or something, Austin Theory had hit a gut-wrench powerbomb and had taken control of the whole thing. These guys bust out some really unique moves here, including a great moment where Austin Theory stops Swerve hitting a Hurricane Rana, catches him and just drops him down, and then holds him down for a while, lets him think about it, and just trash talks him whilst he's in position before hoying him back up and buckle bombing him. The power of Austin Theory combined with the arrogance of Austin Theory is making a really interesting character here. Swerve fights back into this match, but as he's going up to the top rope, he gets an eye rake from Theory, and Austin, with one arm, after having his arm worked over by Swerve earlier in the match, manages to hit the ATL for the 1, 2, 3. Giving this one an A-. Quality wrestling from both of these guys this week. Isaiah Swerve Scott is a star in NXT, and he will be a big star in NXT. Same with Austin Theory. I can't say enough nice things about Theory. He lost last week to Ciampa, so it's good to see him getting some momentum back. Not that he lost it by losing to Ciampa, but you know what I mean. Mauro Ranallo catches up with Johnny Gargano in the Performance Center, and Mauro wants to know why. Why Gargano attacked Ciampa. Gargano is brilliant here. He's fidgety, he's anxious, he's rattled, he's tetchy. He keeps standing up and shouting at Ranallo and then sort of calming himself down. It eventually gets to a point where he gets right up in the face of Mauro Ranallo and says, you know why I did it. And you're a liar for saying that you don't know why I did it. Look down that camera and apologize to people for not telling them why I did it, for calling me Johnny Turncoat. And Mauro just goes, I feel uncomfortable. And Mauro Ranallo leaves the interview. And Gargano looks straight down the camera again, because next week NXT is in the Performance Center, and Gargano says, we're doing things my way, back where we started. This was an A. I think Johnny Gargano was quality here, as I say. Just this agitated heel, and it certainly gives me some intrigue as to what they're going to do next week when NXT is from the Performance Center. Really like this. It is main event o'clock. It is our second steel cage match of the night. It is Roderick Strong versus the Velveteen Dream. This starts immediately. Roddy charges into the cage and just takes down Velveteen Dream. Dream is in his trunks, but Roddy is in his jeans, like he's in street fight mode. I love the shades of grey between these two. Like so many times it feels like in a typical environment, in an old school environment, Roddy should be the goodie. But shades of grey all the way through. I really enjoyed this. After a backdrop into the cage, Marina Shafir makes her presence felt. She comes down to the ring, slides in a kendo stick for her husband, Roddy. But Velveteen Dream gets a hold of it and just wails on Roddy during the ad break. It does come back into play later on. Roddy uses it for a modified backbreaker. I like it when wrestling weapons become parts of wrestling moves. In amongst this bitter, very personal rivalry, we get a moment of comedy as Roderick Strong is ascending the cage. Velveteen Dream pulls his jeans down and everyone gets a look at Roddy's bum. And that is the case for a good while as Roddy hits an Olympic slam, avalanche style, off the very top to the ground with his bum out. Ric Flair is watching somewhere, smiling. So now we come to the finish, and I love this. Velveteen Dream is at the top of the cage. The Undisputed Era make their way out and surround the cage. Adam Cole gets in the cage and immediately gets wiped out by Velveteen Dream. But in the ensuing chaos, Roderick Strong is making his way towards the door. Velveteen Dream stops him from leaving the cage. And then Velveteen looks behind and sees Adam Cole sort of getting back to his feet in the corner. So Velveteen Dream pushes Roderick Strong out of the cage. So Roderick Strong wins the match. Dream shuts the cage door and locks the cage door. And then Adam Cole suddenly realizes he's in the cage with Velveteen Dream. And Dream just goes wild. Just waylays Adam Cole. Just batters him from pillar to post. The other members of the Undisputed Era try and get in the cage to help, but he just keeps taking them out. And it's just Dream alone with Adam Cole. There's canes, there's chairs, and Adam Cole just gets laid out with the Dream Valley Driver. Done. And Velveteen Dream stands over the top of Adam Cole, holding up the NXT Championship, as Ronaldo and Nigel suggest this was the plan all along. Velveteen Dream wanted this moment with Adam Cole. And that was why the path we led happened. I'm going to give this an A. This was an A. The match was great. I'm almost giving it an A+. I don't think the match was worthy of an A+. But I'm going to give it an A. The finish was incredible. And it's those shades of grey with Velveteen Dream. Like a real Healy thing to do, but it's that whole thing of, you've got to know how a baddie works to beat a baddie. Maybe that's where they're going. But where we're definitely going, we are now off to the races with Velveteen Dream versus Adam Cole. That'll be your main event for TakeOver Tampa, and I'm fine with it. I loved the creative finish. I mentioned at the very beginning of this video the first ever steel cage match in 1937, right? Because steel cage matches have been a part of wrestling for like 80 plus years. So how do you reinvent a formula like that? And I want to give praise to both Knox and Kai and to Dream and Roddy and the Era for creating some innovative ways to work the steel cage into what they're doing. Real big fan. Overall this week, I'm going to give NXT, though, a B+. That might surprise you after my gushing about the main event. I thought the cage matches were solid. I thought there was the qualifying match for the ladder shenanigan was just there. I thought the Keith Lee Cameron Grimes bit could have been a touch better. I feel like the tag match could have been a touch better. So I'm reluctant to give it like full grades this time around, because there were some things that could have been a bit better to push it up, but it was still a really good episode of NXT this week with some great bookended steel cage nonsense. Obviously on the other side of the Wednesday Night War, you had the debut of Jake the Snake Roberts. You got the impending arrival of some broken brilliance. So there's a lot to talk about on the other side, and Jack will talk about that on AEW Graded, but there's lots to still love about NXT. Like some real bright sparks, some real green shoots coming through on NXT. as we head into a huge WrestleMania weekend. So for as long as Jack will be flying the flag of AEW, I'm going to be here talking about the greatness of NXT. Obviously, when it's not great, I'll tell you, but I still think they're putting together a really strong product up against some really, really strong products on the other side as well. We may now all be bathed in hot pink, but that's made me sad. Leave that in. We may now all be bathed in hot pink, but I will forever be gold and black on the NXT side. Love you, bye. I'm going to fix my belt.